This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. I'm Joe Reed. Robin Whitten has been with me for the whole week, and happy spring.
Happy spring. We're here in the spring equinox, and I picked a title that I think, again, we always need to think about something, sometimes in a backlist, and this is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, read by Susie Berneis.
This is one of the 25 greatest science books ever written, according to Discover magazine.
Oh, well, it should be. And I was delighted to have a chance to listen to it again. Rachel Carson had a great presence in Maine, and so many of her nature preserves are places that we walk, and I honor her when I walk in these preserves, and I was really delighted to revisit this work, which was published in 1962 and really warned about mostly about the effects of chemicals and pesticides at a time when no one had written about it. And it really, interestingly, we're talking about strong women, unleashed such fierce opposition to her cautions and her concerns, but it also launched the environmental movement that, has been so important to us today.
Absolutely. And we should also say it was written in 1962, but this recording of it by Susie Berneis took place in 2018.
Yes. So it's not only is it a classic text, but also, a classic audiobook. And I think, as you say, it should be on science lists. It should stay. It's more relevant than you might imagine. And I noticed because she's talking about chemicals and pesticides, which most of us know about, but, what's in the news today are these PFASs, the forever chemicals that are that's in the soil. And being in Maine, Maine has a very important groundbreaking law to ban them and is the only state with that law at the moment.
Go Maine.
Well, I think that's a great honor to Rachel Carson too.
The whole environmental movement, I think, actually is an honor to Rachel Carson. I mean, her work, as you said, met with such fierce opposition from chemical companies, but then just also eventually led to a reversal in US pesticide policy. So we owe her all, down through the generations, such a debt of gratitude.
Right, absolutely, and, what she says resonates in a way today that, we do need to think about the chemicals and listen to the scientists who are writing and being concerned with things that have gone on and continue to go on in what we eat and what we consume and how it affects, the world around us. So it seems like the right thing to, as we welcome spring, to think back to this. And it was the first time I had heard it, which I was interested because
Yeah.
Susie Berneis has a very clear and careful style in this narration. You get the kind of fiery caution that Carson brought into the content, but Berneis's narration is not really fiery. It's like, here is the science, here is what I see, this is what is happening, and it is fiery in the result, but the delivery is not.
Why don't we hear it?
So this is just a little bit about earthworms instead of pesticides, just a little science lesson.
Okay. This is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, read by Susie Berneis.
Darwin's calculations showed that the toil of earthworms might add a layer of soil an inch to an inch and a half thick in a 10-year period. And this is by no means all they do. Their burrows aerate the soil, keep it well drained, and aid the penetration of plant roots. The presence of earthworms increases the nitrifying powers of the soil bacteria and decreases putrefaction of the soil. Organic matter is broken down as it passes through the digestive tracts of the worms, and the soil is enriched by their excretory products. This soil community, then, consists of a web of interwoven lives, each in some way related to the others, the living creatures depending on the soil.
Excellent. Susie just seems to understand the text thoroughly, and she presents it so lucidly that we can understand as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what struck me. It made it very listenable, and which I think is the way that Carson wrote it, that she wanted it accessible. And I think in the audiobook form, it really is very accessible and still as important as ever.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've read it, but I've never listened to it. So I look forward to doing that. Thank you for suggesting that.
Well, it's interesting to take a classic or something that we might have read years ago and bring it back with this new form, the new format of audio, and you get a different take.
Yeah, I think that's right. That is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, read by Susie Berneis. And Robin, our week comes to an end.
Yes, our week does, but we still have an exciting a program tomorrow.
That's exactly right. I have an interview with the creators of How Women Made Music, which is the book based on Turning the Tables, a project aimed to celebrate women artists in music history. And it shows how telling the story of popular music through the lens of women changes the story. It's a different story, and it's a great project and a wonderful book, not the least of which because it's a combination of many, many essays written by women music critics, music writers, and it's arranged thematically, not chronologically, but they also put in audio excerpts of the voices of the artists themselves right alongside of the essays that are being written about them. And of course, in audio, we get to hear that. And I speak with Ann Powers and Allison Fensterstock, and they are compelling, fun, and lively guests. And they're just great, and they know so much. So it was a great interview, and that's what we have tomorrow in a special edition of Behind the Mic. So I hope everybody listens.
Great, and I think it's a great way to introduce the How Women Made Music because it's AudioFile's Audiobook Club pick for the first one in 2025.
Absolutely. So you get and it's also Women's History Month. So it's a three for.
It is great. What a wrap up for the week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robin. And I'll talk to you next month.
All right, we will, Joe. Thanks.
Today's episode of Behind the Mic is supported by the final book in the thrilling Murphy Shepard series, The Keeper by Charles Martin, published by Thomas Nelson. The audiobook is available everywhere. And if you like Behind the Mic, leave us a rating. And don't forget to follow us on the platform of your choice. I'm Joe Reed, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.